This is examples of music for Module 29. We'll do all 7 objectives in the same video. 29.1 says identify which chords can be tonicized and which cannot. 29.2 says identify, notate, and label secondary dominant chords other than 5 of 5 in any key. 29.3 says identify and label secondary dominant chords other than 5 of 5 in real music examples. 29.4 says identify resolutions of secondary dominant other than 5 of 5 chords with proper voice leading. 29.5 says identify, notate, and label secondary leading tone chords other than the leading tone of 5 in any key. 29.6 says identify and label secondary leading tone chords other than the leading tone of 5 in real music examples. 29.7 says notate resolutions of secondary leading tone other than leading tone of 5 chords with proper voice leading. So in these examples, we're going to be tonicizing something other than the dominant of the key. And 29.1 says identify which chords can be tonicized and which cannot. You'll learn from the learning resources that any major or minor chord can be tonicized, but diminished or augmented chords cannot be tonicized. This music example has a secondary dominant, the 5 of 2. When we're looking for secondary dominant chords, finding accidentals is often a clue, because most secondary dominant chords need accidentals in order to create them. That's not always the case for every single type of secondary dominant, but in most cases it is. The secondary dominant chord here occurs in this measure. We are in the key of D major with 2 sharps in the key signature. If we analyze this chord contained in this measure, we see we have a B, D sharp, F sharp, A chord. So a B major minor 7th chord, and the D sharp is not of the original key. That chord then moves to this chord, an E minor chord, E, G, B. We expect E minor to be the Roman numeral 2 in the key of D major, so we expect to have a minor quality, and it does. The secondary dominant chord is repeated here, and the resolution to E minor is repeated here. The voice leading of all these secondary chords is always the same as if we did the traditional 5-7 to 1. In this case, the note that we're tonicizing is E, therefore the temporary leading tone is D sharp. We expect that to resolve up to the E. The chordal 7th is the A. We expect that to resolve down to G for smooth voice leading, and it does in this case. So again, this is an example of a 5-7 of Roman numeral 2. Here's an example of a Roman numeral 5 of 3. 5 of 3s can be hard to spot because this is the one secondary dominant chord that does not need accidentals to form. We do see some accidentals in this piece, but if we analyze that closely, we are in the key of G minor, and those F sharps are the leading tone of G minor, and this first one is involved with a D major chord. That's the regular dominant of the key. The secondary dominant occurs between this chord and resolves to the next chord here. The notes we see in this chord are F, A, and C. We have an A major chord. F in the key of G minor is the subtonic. We expect if that note is not raised to a leading tone for that to be a major chord. But then it moves to this B flat chord. B flat, D, F. B flat is the mediant of G minor. So there could be an argument on how this is analyzed. Somebody could say this is capital Roman numeral 7 going to capital Roman numeral 3. However, in terms of function, it's probably better to call this 5 of 3 going to 3. In the opening of this work, we have two secondary dominants. One is a 5 of 4, and the other is a 5 of 5. Alright, this piece is in the key of C major. Just looking at these four measures, that might be hard to tell. But the piece is stated as being in C major, and if we looked at the whole rest of the work, we'd be able to establish, oh, this is in C major. And this opening starts with a C chord, C, E, G. It's very common for pieces to start with the tonic chord. But what throws this off is that B flat. B flat is not of the key, and it changes this from a major chord to a major minor chord, which usually has a dominant function. It's resolving to an FAC chord with a missing fifth. That's following proper voice leading rules. If we think way back to how 5-7 chords resolve to 1 chords, that if you have a root position 5-7 going to a root position 1, one of those chords needs to be incomplete. Usually the fifth is the one that's omitted to avoid incorrect parallel motion. F happens to be the 4th scale degree of C major, and C is the dominant of F. So this is correctly analyzed as a 5-7 of 4 moving to 4. When we see secondary dominants of 4, we pretty much always have a 7th chord involved. C, E, G, B flat being the 7th. If that 7th wasn't involved, we just have a normal C, E, G chord, and that would be one of the actual original key. This chord over here moving to the G chord happens to be a 5 of 5. G is the dominant of C, D major is the dominant of G, and so this is the secondary dominant 5 of 5 occurring here, resolving to 5. Here's an example of a 5-7 of 6. This piece is in the key of B flat major, and the 5-7 of Roman numeral 6 occurs in this measure, resolving to this measure. In B flat major, the Roman numeral 6 is a G minor chord. And we see that happening here, G, B flat, D. The dominant of that would be a D major chord, and that's what precedes it, G, F sharp, A. D, F sharp, A, C is the 7th. We expect the temporary leading tone of F sharp to resolve up to G, which it does. We expect the chordal 7th C to resolve down by step, which it does. And again, this is now a 5-7 of Roman numeral 6. Here's an example of a secondary leading tone chord of Roman numeral major 7. Now remember, in most cases, we expect the Roman numeral 7 to be a diminished chord or a leading tone chord, and we cannot tonicize leading tone chords. However, in minor keys, we can sometimes see a chord based on the subtonic, giving us a major chord, Roman numeral 7, and that chord can be tonicized. So this piece is in the key of G minor. We see some F sharps, which are expected because that's the leading tone of G minor. But then we see this E natural, which doesn't really fit into that key. The note that it lines up with is this G. There's also a B flat and even a C located over here. These notes move to this outlining what appears to be an F chord, F, A. The C is not present, but we do have the notes F and A. We can explain this E natural by analyzing this as a secondary or applied chord. If we're moving to an F chord, that would be the subtonic. The F chord's leading tone is E. So this could be analyzed as lowercase Roman numeral 7 of uppercase Roman numeral 7, moving to uppercase Roman numeral 7. Depending on how you analyze this C, if you analyze it as an embellishing tone or non-chord tone, then you can do it in the manner that we just said. If you analyze the C as part of the chord, then we have a C, E, G, B flat chord. We could actually analyze this as a 5/7 of uppercase Roman numeral 7.